There we go. Okay, great. Well, good morning. It is October 29th, and this is True Perils Migration 2021. We are back, and we do have a couple of updates that are relatively interesting to me, and that's my fun little slide. Okay, so what is actually new this week? Well, the team at Wholesale Payroll was able to share with me. Unfortunately, I don't have any video of this because it was internal. We did get to watch our customer data get from our export that we've done, imported into the new system, and everything flowed so smoothly. It was amazing, and how it drops everything in exactly where it needs to be, and the continuity between one platform to the next is incredible. You guys are going to be really thrilled once we have that to show you, and that is definitely coming next month. The company that is Wholesale Payroll has hired a full-time CTO, and so things are going to start speeding up really fast. If you have any questions on that, we'll deal with that in a little bit, but it was very cool to see how that worked. What else is new? That the overall company is Dataset Go, and they've announced an affiliate program. So anybody can actually, whether you're a customer, a friend, and even employees, a social media influencer, anybody can become an affiliate of Dataset Go and promote the Wholesale Payroll platform and receive affiliate rewards. There are a couple different ways to do that, and those will come out shortly as far as what those programs are going to be. And as long as that customer is a customer of the Wholesale Payroll platform, whether they're an employer and working through one of the service bureaus, like that's what True Payroll will be, is a service bureau of the Wholesale Payroll platform. Whether you refer somebody like True Payroll over to them, or folks like yourselves, if it's another church or a Moose Lodge or whatever the case is, you personally will receive, or you could actually ask us to throw it to something else. So if you wanted to actually gift it to the church or whatnot, we can definitely help facilitate that to happen. So it's kind of cool what they're doing with that. They're going to actually pay for us to grow larger. So that's really cool. And I did that little graphic over there with how affiliate programs work. So it's basically you get a link, it's permanent to you, and it will identify your connection to that referral for life. All right, so that, to me, that's a pretty cool program that that's just coming out. And the other thing, on a technical note, I got a little fancy, and the Wholesale Payroll platform has partnered with a company called Eclipses. One of the most fundamental things that we have to ensure for our customers is security of the information. We're collecting Social Security numbers, we're collecting banking information, and all of that history. There's plenty of information that if somebody hacked into it, they would be able to really steal that away and do some really bad things. So the company Eclipses just passed this year what's called the FIPS 140-3 certification. It is now the industry leading security certification, and it's monitored and granted by the US government. I forgot that my music is still on. Let's turn that off. So it's the way it actually works. The analogy is thinking of going through a bank drive-through, and you pull up in your car and you're in the one with the tube. And I don't know if I've explained this before, but I'm going to go through it again. You put your information inside the tube, you close the container, and the container acts as one level of security. Then it goes in the machine. The machine itself acts as another layer of security, right? And the information travels from you to the teller. The internet works very, very similarly to that. And the standard encryptions and security protocols would be the tube that goes from you to the teller, and then, of course, the container that's inside the tube. Well, the challenge is the transmission of the data, right? Anybody can break into that tube and steal the container and then open it up because it's not locked. Well, in the internet, that container does get locked. So if they break into the tube, they see the container, they grab the container. If they don't know what the lock is to that, they don't get inside. But if they do, or if they brute force it or crack it open, then they get into all your information. What Eclipsys has done is use something what they've patented called micro tokenization. They actually take your, so let's call it the check that's inside the container, and they scramble up the check. So now you've added yet one more layer of security, such that if somebody breaks through the traveling tube, breaks into your container, now all they have is a bunch of scrambled eggs. And they actually have to have each little piece has its own key. And the only people that have those keys are you, the sender, and the receiver. And that's it. And those keys continually change every time. So it's not the same key that's being passed back and forth. There's nobody else in the payroll industry that has anything even remotely close to this. So it's a huge sales differentiator for wholesale payroll. And it makes, for us as a payroll service provider, it gives such a level of comfort that what we're going to be doing is even better from that security standpoint than what we currently are using. And that information is traveling all over the world because their support centers are not located in the United States. And I'm looking around because I want to use my phone as an example. This is the only technology that exists right now that can secure point-to-point communication. So if you're using your cell phone or some other kind of mobile device to do payroll because you're on the road, your information is secure from your screen on your mobile device all the way to our servers. It's encrypted the entire way, and we're the only ones that have that, and this is the only technology that allows for that to occur without sacrificing what they call the payload or the speed, right? So you're not going to even notice that there's no slowing down of the delivery of the information to your screen, which was also vitally important. So it had to be fast and efficient, and it is. So it's very cool. So we'll move right along from this. Maybe if I can get it to, there we go. We're going to go on to the Q&A. And so we didn't have anybody actually delivering any questions to us this week. So what I want to do is just go ahead and open it up to both Anthony and Wanda. You guys are here. So there is no question that is a bad question. The only question that's a bad question is the one that's not asked. So let's open it up.
Ladies first, so I'll let Wanda go first.
Well, and gentlemen. Very good.
Thanks, Anthony. But
You're
the first
welcome,
thing is, this is my first one getting on here, so I'm kind of still, I'm lost at it. I've not even began to look at anything yet, just because I have to work. So
understood.
All
the previous sessions, Wanda, are recorded and they're on the True Payroll the site. And the next slide we'll have that link too.
And I kept that in my email, and I'm going to do that too.
Yeah, awesome. Is there anything specific that you'd like to try to catch up with right now that I can answer any questions on?
Am I going to go through the site that I currently go through and the platform is just going to look different?
In a nutshell, yes. So the login procedures are going to be starting truepayroll.com, clicking on employer login, and
okay.
Then it'll take you to there'll be a one sign-on process. So once you sign on there, you're into the entire platform versus going to a separate page. It'll all be integrated right into that. And it will look different. It's going to look different, yet it'll feel very similar because that was something very important to me. So the continuity of experience and what you guys do and how you interact with it is really quite similar, a lot more flexible. So you'll be able to really maneuver your display and it will remember what settings you last left it with. So once you figure out exactly how you'd like it to look, and you may remove some stuff that doesn't pertain to you, you may add some stuff that only pertains to you, and it will be there the next time you log in, particularly for the payday stuff, because we have a lot of clients with very different needs. And the current system is pretty static. You can add those columns in the payday screen. This one's going to the wholesale payroll platform allows for even more flexibility in what you're doing with that. And one of the biggest things that I really love, and it's for the folks with kind of more than 10 or 12 employees. So the larger you are, the more challenging it gets, because you got to finish and get through the screen, because it doesn't remember, and currently it doesn't remember anything that you're doing. And so if you get timed out, you lose all that work. Or if you accidentally go to a different page, it forgets everything. Not with this system. So
Oh,
when you
that's
enter,
awesome.
it's saved as a placeholder for that particular employee, and you don't have to re-enter it. So yeah,
Okay.
that's awesome improvement.
That sounds great. And the one other thing that I did see, and I hadn't got to it yet, is there new forms for me to fill out? I kept an email. Is there new forms and things I need to fill out for this new platform?
So there is not well, you could do it for you. I'm just pulling it up over here.
Okay.
So the challenge of the current system is we cannot see, like you cannot see, it's the same for us because we don't own that technology base, is the banking information for your employees. We have everything else other than that. So I'm just going to slide this web page over. So it's truepayroll.com/employee. And we're asking anybody, this is only for those employees that are getting direct deposit. If they're not, this doesn't pertain. Because what we need them to do is actually ask, we ask them for their a lot of personal kind of information, not our full social, but we're asking for their mobile, their email, and their date of birth, because we don't have all, and not everybody has actually completed those things. And there's kind of some critical components to help with communication between you as the employer and employees, and us as the service bureau. We'd like to be able to notify employees of what's occurred based on your preference settings. So it's not like we're going to reach out to them. We are never going to solicit your employees for anything. It's a matter of saying we'd like to text notify our employees of payday or of reminders for whatever you want to set those things for. Anniversaries could be any type of anniversary, by the way. Could be a child's birthday, could be a wedding anniversary, could be a graduation date, could some life event that they want to get a reminder of for either themselves or their employees. That's going to be in there, so that's kind of cool. But it's just a way for us to actually capture information that not everybody has inside their profiles. But more importantly, it's this section right here. It's the bank information. We do need to get their full bank routing and bank account, and we have it split here with 2, because we have a number of employees for our customers that do split their type of their pay into either savings in one and checking into another. So it's only, as you can see, the first one is required, the second one is not. So it only those employees that are splitting their pay would need to fill out the second part. And it also would apply to if they want to now do that in the future. If they say, oh, you know what, that's cool, I didn't know I could do that, and they want to do that, they can certainly give us that information. And when we convert it over, we'll import that information, and their pay will be split as they choose.
Okay.
That was a lot of talking on my part. Sorry about that.
That's okay. No, that's
worries.
all right. That's the 2 main things that I had.
Okay, great.
So my question actually relates to this as well, Al.
Sure.
So good to see you again. I missed last week because I was traveling, but I did watch the video, and you were talking about the employee being able to go on and change their information. Is that now functional, or is that still not ready to be done? I wasn't clear from the last video whether it was, functional
sure.
at
Thank
all.
you. Great. Thank you for the question. We're still using the old platform. And while I've now seen the migration take place, we have confirmed that we are going to do it in likely blocks of 40. And so just to make it manageable on our end, in case we do run into any data errors, that part is not available in the current system. So currently an employee goes on to Workforce, which is wholly owned by Intuit. And you can't update that at all. Once you're migrated, then yes, they'll be able to do that. So certainly by December and or January, they'll be able to log in into their account through wholesale payroll through us, excuse me, and then they'll be able to modify their address, they won't be able to modify their social, of course. You would be able to in case something, I hate to even say it, but certain service industries have folks that provide socials that aren't always accurate. We will have a service next year to validate that if the employer would like to do that through Social Security Administration. We are implementing that. If there's ever any question, and if it comes back as a mismatch, then you, as an employer, have to make a choice, of course. But to be specific with your question, they can update their banking, they can add banking, they can remove banking, they can change their withholding statuses, they can add extra withholdings if they want to. So, you know, they put their W-4 for single zero, but they want an extra $50. And then next week, like, oh, you know what? No, I don't need that anymore. I'm going to remove that extra 50. They'll be able to go in and do that. And the other thing too, Anthony, which is very, very unique, and it has presented some interesting challenges that have been resolved, was there's only one record per employee. And so that, or per person. So Anthony, as a person in that platform, is only ever going to be in there one time. All of your, what are labeled as engagements, whether it be as a supervisor for where you are now or as an employee for somebody else, you see all of that when you log into your specific account. You'll see all those predefined engagements and roles that you play. It doesn't give you access to anything other than your information, but it will show what so you can click onto, you know, XYZ company over here, and you'll see what your role is and how you're assigning things for yourself. So in other words, if I worked for you and I worked for Wanda, I would have two engagements. So when I log in as an employee of both of yours, I don't get to see both things. Meaning Wanda doesn't see if Wanda logs in to see my profile, she only sees my profile with her, not my profile with you. But I get to see both. And I can change either so it's not global, or I can change it so it's global. It's very flexible, it's very powerful. So if I have one bank account and I just want it used across all the different jobs that I have over my life, and every employer I'm ever with was using this platform, nobody has to enter it a second time. They're going to send me, you would say, oh, you know what, I'm going to hire Al. I'm going to send him an email. I'm going to send him a text. You know, we'll alert him both ways. And we kind of went over that. It's a little bit has changed, but I get the email and or the text message that says, hey, Anthony wants to hire you at XYZ. Do you want to accept that engagement? Click yes, because you've now hired me. Then all of my stuff goes over to you, so you don't have to enter it. Does that make sense? Was that confusing?
Yes, it does. Yeah,
Okay.
I understand. I can see that would be very complicated to do in
security wise.
Some kind of
You gotta, yeah.
security wise, and you want to make sure that Wanda can only see what she needs to see, and you as the employee can see everything. You should be able to see everything. But then me, if I'm hiring you as well, I can only see what I should see. That's
Right.
complicated.
It ended up being more complicated than they originally thought, but there were any number of solutions that we deployed, and or it got deployed, and so it ended up being really, really quite cool. It works for either employees, contractors, or vendors. So we're actually going to allow for vendor payments through, basically you could use the system, not that you'd want to, but you could. Or if you have a long-term vendor arrangement that you just want to automate things with it because they don't have the ability to do it, it could happen. But contractors, more importantly, same thing. So you know, as an accounting professional, if more than one of your customers that has engaged you is using this platform, they don't have to re-enter your stuff.
Right.
Your stuff is already there, including a W-9 your banking information. So you can say, yep, that's where I want it to go. And at that point, the employer would see that. So they'll be able to see where that's going. And we're providing audit trails for all of that too. So that's, I think we talked about that a few weeks ago. But when there's issues in the banking world, you got to be able to find out where money has gone. And
Yep.
currently we really can't do that. And so we're recording every piece of that in our database. So such that if you needed to do an audit of a transaction that was 6 months ago, we recently had that happen. An employee just never checked to see if the secondary $50 was going into an account. And for whatever reason, for a 6-week period, it didn't. It went off into Cyberland. The bank had it, but never actually put it into her account. So
So it was just sitting out in space somewhere.
with the bank. Yeah, they didn't know what to do with it. So
Oh, okay. That, I can see that happening. Yep.
yeah, it happens more often than you think. But because it was more than 90 days old, the current platform, they couldn't help us because they didn't record any of that information when it comes back from the bank. Well, data storage is so cheap, and that record is so small. Why wouldn't you keep it? So in that sense, we will have a complete audit trail of everything that ever happens, never deleting. We are never deleting anything, even when you make edits.
Right.
Oh, you're going to love this as an accounting. So there is, and that I didn't do a slide on this. It was super, super exciting for me as a guy who's done a lot of accounting. One of the aspects, and so Wanda, this will be applicable for you. When you make a change in the current system, it doesn't modify the existing accounting record in QuickBooks Online. So specifically for QuickBooks Online, we have found the mechanism necessary so that when you do an edit or a change of any kind at any point, we can grab that original transaction record and update it as necessary back into the QuickBooks account. So the edits happen real time over there as well. So when you do them in our system, it pushes up the update. Unfreaking believable. It's so exciting to be able to do that. It's not done by journal entry, it's done by actual transactions. So then you have the audit ability within QuickBooks. So it's going to follow it all the way through as it would as if you created it on your own. So I was super thrilled to see that issue was found and implemented.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That
gets an
get all
accountant
excited.
excited.
It does. Like, we live for those little small
Nobody
things.
else would care.
Right? And so one of the things we actually brainstormed with the team on was, well, what happens if you have a check that you issue? Because we had a live example where a check got issued to an employee and never got actually printed because in this case, the customer didn't let us know that they had done it. And so there's no way, unless a customer tells me, hey, could you print this check for us? Because we just did it. It was an off issue kind of thing, a one-time thing. And we're like, oh, no, we didn't do that. Do you want us to? Yes. Okay. We assigned a check number. Well, in between us assigning that check number and printing the check, the customer went, oh, you know what? I don't really need that because I got to pay this employee again. So I'll just take what they didn't get and drop it in this check and do it all at once, right? So there in our system, we created the check, we printed it out, and it should have created an export that would have assigned a check number. Well, then, right, they let us know, oh no, we double paid her or we added the pay, so she got 2 pays in one, that was a direct deposit. So now, in the meantime, we had actually exported it for them because it was all online. So now they've got 2 transactions, and then we had to go back and say, oh crap, we got to void that out. We got to delete it from the system.
Yeah. She's been
because now
overpaid on the record.
She's been double dipped, right?
Yeah.
So we then had to create a negation because you can't just delete stuff. And so now the negated check shows up as an export. So now there's 3 transactions.
3 transactions. Okay, gotcha.
One check without a number, 1 check with the number, same amount, and then a reversal, which is a journal entry, which puts a deposit into the check register. And I showed all of this to the team. I said, this is stupid. If
Yeah.
we need to void these things out or we need to make those edits, it needs to update that original transaction so that once it's exported and it's sitting there, in this situation, we would have updated the record the first time for the check number. Then we would have updated that same record and showed it as a void versus having 3 transactions in the register. One we had to delete and 2 that canceled each other, effectively canceled each other out. So that's not going to happen now. It'll actually update that record, and it's super, super exciting because when we're dealing with, because we have a tremendous number of Moose Lodge customers, that Moose International has said, you guys have to go with QuickBooks Online, I think by the end of the year. And I know a ton of them have already switched. Being able to update that stuff on the fly for them and being able to void a check in our system that's going to then go over there, it saves so much heartache for so many people. Oh,
Yeah.
and the mapping. That was the other thing QuickBooks related. The mapping between departments and classes and any piece of an employee's pay that you need to map separately can be mapped separately. And that's super exciting too. Because if they're working in multiple areas of a lodge, I'm going to use the Moose Lodges. So they have some people that work in the kitchen, some people that work in the front of the house, some people that work behind the bar, whatnot. And currently it's hard to map that out. Basically, you can only map it to one spot, and then they got to go in and edit the entry in QuickBooks. Not now. So if they have 10 hours here and 5 hours there and 2 hours over here, each one of those can be mapped directly where it needs to go. So it's super, super cool. Very, very powerful. Okay.
Oh, that's good. That's really
So
good.
any other questions that I can answer for you or Wanda? Anything else?
So an update on when you're going to start to transition folks over. You said it's going to likely be later next month, or
It's definitely, well, it started. So
starting in
for
like
now-
next week.
we've got 4 accounts. Neither one of yours is actually in that selection. 4 rather larger accounts with a variety of potential issues. Those 4 have been selected. Those imports have run flawlessly. And so now before we pick the next group, there's a lot of testing going on to make sure everything is coming in there. They did run into an issue that they know what it was, and they just had to find it and fix it. So, and actually,
in
what's
that
interesting,
case-
it had to do with primary account contacts. Oddly enough, some of our customers don't have primary contacts listed. So we have to go back and find those and go, okay, we just have, I mean, I know who they are and I've got the information. So it's just a matter of backfilling.
Just with
And-
4.
and-
So did they actually, these 4 that you said you started with, were they
Yeah.
working in the whole payroll, the new system? Or are they still entering in the old system?
everything's going to be entered into the old system. We're running it parallel. So
Oh, okay.
when
So you
when
basically
they're
just grab a
entering-
copy of it. You
I'm
grab a
actually-
copy of the input and see what happens when you run it in parallel. You're checking to make sure it works. And you've done that with 4 companies and you're feeling really good about it. is what
we're
you're saying.
doing that. Yeah. It'll be
Did you-
at least another week of that. Maybe
Did
2.
you, with those 4 companies, did you have the employees verify their deposit information, or you probably are not there yet with the employee deposit information?
Well, and so so we didn't need that for what we're doing.
Okay,
I can't tell you that the wholesale payroll team has verified that. That's a great question. And now one that you're going to ask, I'm going to go ask that one myself. So
Yeah.
that's a great question.
so that's
But yeah,
probably
for
kind of
the
the next step,
purposes of-
right? Before you actually fully move
Yeah,
them over,
I-
is get
I
their
know that
employees to
the-
all go online. And do you need 100% of the employees to go online?
We don't need
It's-
any, technically, Anthony, we don't need any of them.
Oh, okay.
The difference will be they're going to have to get a paper check for that first pay run. If
Oh,
it's
okay.
not there.
So because
Right.
in our case, we're doing all direct transfers to their accounts, I'm going to want to whip all of my employees into shape and get them all to do this. Kind of have an employee party or whatever. Everybody go online and do this and make sure you've got your information up to date.
And one of the other tools that we'll deploy for helping facilitate that is once everybody's migrated over, if we're missing information, we will be inviting every employee with either a phone or an email in the system
okay.
already. We'll be inviting them
Okay.
to their account so that, and if they're missing their banking, they're going to get, hey, we don't have your banking information. We see that you're
Yeah.
set for direct deposit, but we can't give you that because we don't have it. So
I'll tell you, make a
that's tool
suggestion.
that'll be in there.
A suggestion that I would recommend, and we're on twice monthly, right? So we usually have a payroll around the 15th and around the end of the month. So let's say if you're cutting us over on the 16th of November, I'm just giving that as an example, and we've just
Sure.
finished the November 15th payroll. And the next time we're going to be using whole payroll at the end of the month, and we need all that employee information checked and double checked. It probably, if we have 2 weeks and we know right on the 16th that I got to chase these people and make sure everybody gets that done, because they'll ignore emails, right? That's just the way, these are all busy people. That would be very helpful. So if we have a
text
full
message
2
would
weeks to
be
do that.
probably more powerful, don't you think? If we sent them
Sorry?
a text and said a text message would be more powerful. Hey,
Yeah,
we'd like to
or both.
we'd like to get you paid and we can't because we don't
Yeah.
have this. So
Well,
folks,
it's
please
important,
fill it
I
out.
think, I've already sent an email to all of our employees, say something's coming, there's going to be changes. So everybody's aware of it, at least I've, you know,
Okay.
everybody, all the stakeholders are aware of it. And what I want to do is I want to send out another email and let everybody know before you send out that invitation. That way, you know, they know it's coming in the next few days or whatever, and that way it's not going to look like spam to them. You know what I mean? That's really important, I think.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Agreed. We're actually putting a couple other things in place to ensure the best delivery of emails as possible. So
Okay, sounds good, Al.
we're trying to be very careful about that. So Wanda, there's the website link to go watch any of these. It's truepayroll.com/launch. I try to do all these things start and end on time. I'm 2 minutes over. And every session is recorded and there.
Okay,
All right.
not a problem. Hey, so they
And if-
go on the current system and update their employee information.
No, in the current system, they
No.
cannot. So
Okay,
once we
not
deploy
until
the
the new-
new one, correct,
Okay.
then they can update all of their personal data.
As
But only
soon,
when Al
and I'll
tells us
know,
to do it.
Right. We
When
will
Al
be
tells-
in communication with you when you're selected for that migration. So it's not going to
Great.
come as a surprise. You're not going to go to the office one day and go, holy crap, this isn't working. Where do I go now? No, you're going to know ahead of time that, and I know I have to change our True Payroll site because we will have 2 different logins for employers, old system, new system.
oh, okay. Great.
All right.
Do you
Well,
have
great,
a lot
thank
of,
you.
well, last question, you have a lot of people who are weekly pay or bi-weekly or or
Mostly weekly. We have a ton of weekly
okay,
payers. Yeah.
so that gives you only like a
That's
week
by far the
transition,
vast majority are weekly, then bi-weekly would be the second, and then
bi-monthly.
bi-monthly and monthly are about the same, just a handful, not as many,
Okay.
not as many of those.
All right. Okay, thanks, Al.
You're very welcome. You guys have a great rest of your weekend, and
All
I'll
right.
be back at the same bat time, same bat channel.
All
Thanks,
right,
Thanks, Al.
Have a great
All right,
weekend.
thanks.
Yep,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.